All right, welcome to this explainer. Today, we're diving straight into the reality of mastering offshore commissioning. I want you to picture something for me. A massive offshore project, all lit up against the pitch black night sky. On a project of this insane scale, you're faced with a pretty stark reality right from day one. You either control the database or it absolutely controls you. There is no middle ground. So today, let's make sure it's you pulling the strings.
100. Think about that for a second. That isn't just a random number. That is the sheer overwhelming volume of individual systems running simultaneously on a modern offshore project. And it gets crazier. 40,000. That's the massive number of individual tags you're dealing with, and every single one of them is just pulsing with live field data. Honestly, if you're standing in the middle of all that on your first day, it is just sheer overwhelming chaos. But here's the real kicker. 6. This right here is your core problem. You've got 6 completely different software packages running at the same time, and on most projects, they absolutely disagree with each other.
Now, the commissioning database is meant to be your single source of truth, right? It's the central hub connecting everything. You've got your Primavera schedule, your PCS punch lists, JD Edwards handling materials, your engineering queries in JQ, and of course, your jumper log. Every single certificate, every test record, and every single man-hour booked out in the field ultimately rolls up through this database. So when your boss walks in and asks, hey, where are we? The answer either comes from here or it literally doesn't come at all.
So let's break down how this actually works anatomically. It's all built on what we call a relational hierarchy. It goes like this. A tag belongs to a part system. Then that part system belongs to a system. And finally, that system belongs to a handover. Pretty straightforward, right? Everything you report on your project is really just a roll-up of this exact structure, working its way up the tree to become a final deliverable. But look, if you actually want to maintain control of this massive beast, you have to find its weak spot. And the database's ultimate weak point sits right here. The real danger is always at the interfaces, those tricky little joins between the different vendor packages. Why do these interfaces constantly fail? Well, look at the reality of how they're built. They are written by completely different vendors, they're tested by different teams, and critically, absolutely no one owns the entire chain. When your progress reporting quietly breaks down, and I guarantee you it will, it's going to break right at these unowned interfaces. Which brings us to survival rule number 1. I want you to think of an aircraft cockpit. If you try to free query a flexible database, it's like staring at 200 unlabeled live dials all at once. You are going to burn so many hours in a state of total overload. But a pilot doesn't need a live feed of every single sensor on the plane, right? They need 6 clean, predefined instruments so they know exactly what matters at a single glance. So the rule is predefine your fixed reports and never, ever free query. And let me just show you what that kind of discipline actually buys you. Building a few predefined instruments, things like a scorecard, a tracking sheet, and a bean count, that alone saves you roughly 4 hours a week. Over a standard 3-year project, that is 500 hours given straight back to you, simply because you set up the right reporting rule on day 1. It's a total game changer. All right, now I want you to picture this visceral, super high-stakes scenario. It's 3:40 a.m. on a Friday morning. Your Primavera to PCS interface has just completely crashed. Your weekly progress roll-up is due on the boss's desk at 8 a.m. sharp, and suddenly every single number on the project is unavailable. So what do? Well, here's survival rule number 2. You never chase IT in a crisis. Instead, you forcefully pull your manual flat file backup. You can rely entirely on this foolproof contingency plan because you had the foresight to set it up on the very first day. And honestly, this backup is so incredibly simple. It's exactly 6 fields in a basic spreadsheet: activity number, lead responsible, description, percent complete, man hours, and your weekly date. But listen closely, because there is a non-negotiable rule here. This file must be exported every single week immediately after the roll-up routine finishes. If you do it before, you're just backing up last week's numbers all over again, and you won't even realize your mistake until the crisis hits. To kind of anchor this concept in your mind, think about a ship's navigation system. Every vessel out there carries a physical paper logbook right next to its live electronic chart. It's not because the electronics are bad, it's because a vessel that loses its navigation simply stops moving. Your flat file backup, that is your project's paper logbook. And you know what? The economics of this backup strategy are just brilliant. You don't have some highly paid, expensive engineer doing this busy work. You have a technical clerk maintain this backup for a fraction of the rate.
They literally keep your reporting alive through 3 years of inevitable system crashes. It is, without question, the cheapest and best insurance policy your project could ever buy. Okay, let's rapidly summarize this transformation we've just gone through. You started this explainer staring down the barrel of total chaos, 40,000 completely unorganized tags. But now, you've got a clear relational map. You've identified the interface trap. You've just saved yourself 500 hours with predefined reports. And you have a rock-solid, foolproof manual contingency plan. You've essentially stepped out of the shoes of an overwhelmed engineer and right into the role of a principal manager who is in total control.
Which means you are now totally ready to walk onto any project and ask the one single question that truly matters. I'm going to leave you with this. Which interfaces roll up your progress, and who exactly owns them? Go find the answer to that, and you will absolutely master your database. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer. I'll catch you in the next one.